On this episode of AV Week, we take a look at supply chain and as well as the forecast for the third and fourth quarter in the AV market. Shure and ClearOne are at it again over patents, and Kramer Electronics has new owners. All that and more next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 495, recorded Friday, February 12th, 2021. Continuity.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Atlas IED, innovative audio solutions for every business environment, and by FSR,
and by Draper, focused on innovative solutions.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information, and the most exciting 30 minutes of my entire week, because I'm really excited about having these three people on. First and foremost, the creator of BAM, Brandy Alvarado. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Real quickly, tell people what BAM is and where they can find you.
Well, BAM Marketing and PR Agency is a company I just barely started, and it is a consultant marketing services company. So if anybody needs help with their website, social media, content creation, and anything marketing related or press related, hit me up. You can find me at bammarketingpr.com or on social media at bammarketingpr1.
All right, very good. I know that I'm doing this different or backwards, but I was excited because, first of all, her logo is really sweet. So, and we'll do it again at the end. Also has his own company. Actually, all three of these folks do. So I'm excited about that. Brock McGinnis, how are you, sir?
Very well, and glad to be here.
All right, very good.
Well, actually, I'm glad to be in my background, Tim.
I was going to say, Brock is up in Toronto, which of the four of us, he is the only colder than me. He cannot, I can't beat California, even Northern California, which is where my Uncle Richie is. Rich Fragoza from Fragoza Design. Welcome, sir.
Speaking of which, yeah, mellow West Coast greetings. I have to say, I do not envy your guys' weather right now. And the best thing about Brock is being the most interesting man in Canada. He can be a man of few words, and we all just listen in rapt attention. So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be on the commercial show. It's been more than a minute. So
it has been. It has been. We've tried a couple of times, but he is a very busy man these days. So first story comes to us actually from our website. The Kramer Electronics has got sort of new owners. Fortissimo Capital Fund has acquired a controlling stake in the electronics manufacturer. From the website, Fortissimo acquired a majority interest in Kramer Electronics. Michael and Ben Zion Hochstein, two of the company's founders, they retain their interest while Dr. Joseph Kramer is retiring from the company. This is an interesting development that's been kind of in the works for the past year or so, not necessarily from Fortissimo, but just in general. Dr. Kramer has been kind of laying some things down and laying some responsibilities down. They got a new CEO about a year or so ago. So this isn't exactly, I'm not going to say it was telegraphed, but it's certainly Dr. Kramer retiring was kind of known. Brock, we'll start with you on this. When it comes to the overarching, not just legacy of Dr. Kramer, but from Kramer's global footprint and the impact this is going to have, what does this mean for the industry and for Kramer from a worldwide perspective?
This is continuity, which is fantastic. So the part of the story I was most interested in was that the Hochsteins stayed on. And the Hochsteins have been the kind of the business mind, and as I understand it, a good chunk of the financial wherewithal behind the Kramer empire for a long time. And I had the pleasure of meeting with Michael Hochstein in my offices a number of years ago. These are not passive investors. These are very, very smart gentlemen. Very engaged with the growth of the company, and the fact that they found a private equity firm that would pay Dr. Kramer and his family out of their shares and carry on the business is great. It's a good indication of, if not the present, then the future health of our industry.
Oh, very good point. Brandy, when it comes to, succession plans and any sort of change when it comes to, businesses, leadership at the top, there can be the tendency for uncertainty. How do we how does Kramer, not we, how does Kramer kind of navigate those waters? I would say probably in the next year or so to make sure to, assuage any uncertainty or any nervousness, both here in the States, but also, globally.
Yeah, that's always a good one. I've been through a couple of mergers and acquisitions, and I always think it's, the best thing you can do to your employees and to, your customers and constituents, if you will, is communicate. Tell us what's going on. Tell us why, Fortissimo is a great company and how it's going to enrich Kramer and whatnot. And reading up on this, I think, Fortissimo has like a $1.6 billion portfolio, 50 tech and agri-tech type companies. So it can only be a great way to fortify, the Kramer brand even more. But for me, like I said, I've been through companies sort of perpetuating leaders. And I think the best advice from me, at least, is just communication. Let people know what's going on and what to expect. And I think that's the best recipe.
All right, Richie, let's take a look at this from a technology and a product standpoint. Dr. Kramer had been at the head for the last 40 or some odd years. He is stepping down. So ostensibly, you're losing kind of a mind share there. You're losing a well of knowledge. Two of his sons, at least, do still work there. Yuval, who I know kind of well at doing interviews and stuff like that. Yuval is an old rock and roll guy. First of all, he's not old, and he hasn't stopped playing rock and roll, but that he is kind of the brains behind a lot of the audio products. When it comes to a roadmap and when it comes to laying out new products going forward, Dr. Kramer is gone. So how do they kind of fill that void as well as, create a runway for products moving forward?
Well, I mean, you have to kind of consider that, succession is going to be part of any longstanding manufacturer's roadmap, hopefully. I was 11 when Dr. Kramer started the company, from a context standpoint, right? And there are companies, typically when the name is, on the shingle, that you have to consider the cult of personality. You have to consider the visionary behind it. And you've seen the coin toss go either way. You've seen, Dr. Felstein's an example. Crestron carried on the mantle. He was absolutely the visionary who created an iconic manufacturer. And that's one side of a succession plan, and having the right people in place and encouraging the right people to continue the vision. You also have the flip side where, a company that was near and dear to my heart that really is no longer out in name anymore, called Runco. Sam Runco was the driving force behind Runco projectors. He was that visionary. And that transition, when Planar acquired them, that wasn't as necessarily as fully executed. Again, my feeling is, for the companies that started it, for the people who started it, good for them. They put a lot into those companies and are unheralded. We talk about the successes, but we don't always consider the sacrifices that were made getting to that point. And so the first thing for me is, congratulations on a job well done. I mean, you made a mark. The next part is you hope that the corporate culture has identified the people and promotes it. And so I think with a company like Kramer, I think they're on the right path. I think that especially now, and we will no longer use the word unprecedented, but in unprecedented times, we're going to see that where they're moving from a technology standpoint and a product standpoint, we're gonna see it's going to be pretty healthy for them. I think they're going to have the ability to. There's going to be a time period where innovation is going to be required, but right now they can focus on keeping consistency while innovation starts to rise up underneath.
All right, very good. Next story comes to us from our friends over at AV Network and SCN. One word of warning, this is about patent law, but it's also about Shure versus ClearOne. So it's kind of boring, but it's still kind of exciting. You know, it's Shure and ClearOne snipping at each other. And Shure is a sponsor of AVNation, but it's still Shure and ClearOne snipping at each other. So is Kramer. I forgot to do that on the start of the last story. Brandy, I want to start with you on this, but real quickly, just to give you guys a sense of overarching. The patent they're talking about specifically is the design patent, not the technology patent. So let's get that out of the way first. This is the look of the product. We're talking about ceiling microphones. Again, not exactly, burning down the house here with excitement. However, Shure tried to file a motion for a temporary restraining order to stop the sale of ClearOne's BMA CTH products. The judge in the matter said that he did not request the preliminary injunction in part because it found that ClearOne's quote unquote lackluster sales do not support a claim that Shure will be substantially and immediately harmed absent a preliminary injunction. Both companies gave a statement on the matter. ClearOne says, "Yay, it's good for us." Shure says that instead of competing fairly, ClearOne just decided to copy our design. Brandy, that may have been the most backhanded compliment to a company that I've seen from a judge. Because you suck at selling it or because your product can't sell,
right?
We're not going to enforce the injunction on the other guy over there. I very rarely do I pick up this story anymore. And I picked it up honestly because of the design part, not the technology part. Right. Because there's about once a month these two kind of go at each other, and there's something on. Right. Walk me through this, and I guess give each of them a piece of advice from you, from Brock and Rich.
Oh man,
what do they need to do to get beyond this? Right? What help them settle this, and stop flooding my emails with, this injunction and that injunction.
Right. What a battle. I mean, we're all watching this going, who's gonna prevail? Unfortunately, and Brock, Rich, you guys might have to sort of back me up on this one. I think what it's gonna take is a shit ton of, and that's a technical term, a shit ton of legal fees to settle this one. Unfortunately, I think we've seen this kind of thing blow out before in other in other industries, and certainly we're not immune to this as the AV industry, but I just think it's going to be a very litigious and expensive case more than anything. Advice? I don't know. I really don't know if I have any great advice on this one. Get some good lawyers, right? Or I don't know, to be quite honest with you. I'm not really even sure what I would advise at this point. They're both slinging a lot of mud. And, let's see who wins the arm wrestling match at this one. I don't know how to gauge this one at all either.
All right, Richie, this is a design job, right? This is not technology. It's not the underlying technology, right? So I guess help me or help dealers or help end users kind of sift through all this. And yeah, same thing, give Shure and ClearOne some advice here, to let the industry move on and let them choose their own path.
Honestly, I think right now both companies realize that with everything changing, they're feeling that they're going to battle for every mountaintop that they can right now. There's a whole lot of uncertainty. So, and the reality is, as much as we'd love to think that we're educating clients or the end users on the technological reasons for why this is going to be a better microphone and the design and everything else, it's going to come down to how it looks. You're either going to be dealing with an interior design firm, with a consultant, just the brand, and again, in an executive boardroom, every detail's planned out. And so that's a big decision at that point. And so if you've got something that performs well and looks good, that's really what they're battling for, which is, I think, why they're not as concerned about the technological side, because they know that, they're eating with their eyes, right? And that's where that first battlefield is going to be. And yeah, it's just like Brandy said, the people who are going to benefit the most out of this are going to be the attorneys. And they have to decide, how much they want to dig their heels in on this one. I wouldn't be surprised if, given how the court process is going right now, that they aren't ordered to mediation at some point, because that's where things keep moving towards. I mean, you could be as litigious as you want. That judge is pulling no punches.
No.
I mean, to read that, ooh, you do not want to be on the receiving end of a statement like that. And even then, I think that's what the judge was telegraphing in no uncertain terms, which was pursue this all you want. However, there's always the saying that, being in court is not about justice, it's about the law. And those two aren't necessarily mutually inclusive. And so for me, the way that I interpreted it was the judge's way of saying, you can spend a whole lot of money, or you two kids can shake hands and figure it out between yourselves, because right now I felt that there was a telegraph a bit. I mean, you don't use words like that unless it continues in that court where that decision is going to go. This is not something that goes to a jury trial. This is something that's going to be decided by this judge that's presiding over it. And so I think pretty much,
here's the thing though, in Shure's statement, they made reference to a jury trial. So something's got to be in the works somewhere, right? I mean, because that's what, and I don't know, the thing with this injunction, and they went before the court to get them to stop selling, right, the ClearOne product, until the jury trial happens. And so that's, unless the jury is split, somebody somewhere is going to, come out a victor in this in some way, shape, or form.
I would consider the calendar. April of 2019, it was filed.
Yeah.
February of 21, they got a response. That gives you an idea of just where in the again, I mean, now you're dealing with something that isn't even technology related, right? This is just logistics. If you're 24 months out just to get a ruling on a preliminary injunction, and you're saying you want to go to jury trial, hello 2025, and at that point, how much are you willing to bleed? And at that point, you may be making a new product. So, I'm not a manufacturer. I've never been in manufacturing. But logistically speaking, and kind of reading the tea leaves in front of you, there's got to be a certain point where it's like, are you making a stand, or are you making a business decision?
Brock, Mr. Fregosa actually just led me where I was going anyway. By the time this goes to jury trial, and just for the record, to remind folks, Brock is the head of Avitas, AV as a service, and the AV in that also implies IT. Yes, Frank Paticala, it implies IT. These products are both IT products. By the time 2025, and Richie's probably dead on there, he might even be a little bit shy. They may very well be making different things, right? And then they'll start the whole process over again. I'm being somewhat sarcastic. I hope to God not. Is this just both of them, Don Quixotes tilting at their own windmills or spending lawyer money just until they get on to the next technologically advanced thing, or are they both really in this to win this?
I think ClearOne is in it to win it. Okay. I think it's the only thing they got going for them. They pursue a lot of patent action. Their commercial success has not been spectacular from everything that we've been able to see from the market. I think you'll find that most kind of core AV integration and design people will gravitate towards the Shure product or the Shure people than towards ClearOne. It sure kept ClearOne in the news and given them an awful lot of attention. And I sympathize with them because they were the first to market. They did have that first beam-forming ceiling mic. Shure is the one that came out with the form factor that we liked even better. Shure now has a couple of other form factors. That 710 or 701 product is really interesting. But Sennheiser's got a great product, and this recently they've introduced Voice Lift, which has always been something that was very, very difficult, if not impossible, to achieve with other beam steering ceiling mics. Yamaha's recently introduced a new product. I've seen a number of implementations of Biamp's ceiling mic, Parlay ceiling mics, and they're fantastic, like really, really good. I've been watching Logitech's webcasts over the past couple of weeks as they introduce their new Rally product. Their beam tracking is fantastic, and I understand they have a ceiling form factor on the way as well. This was once very special for ClearOne. The market is going to be flooded. Henry Ford did not have a patent on automobiles, and all of a sudden he had an awful lot of competition because everybody wanted a car. Well, everyone wants a ceiling mic, and I couldn't care who makes it. I don't care about the lawyers. Rich, I got to say that for a guy who isn't a lawyer, you play one on TV way better than anyone I've ever heard. I mean, you got to give Josh Schrago some lessons about, walking through the case.
Now, just so you know, and I know this because I know Richie and I are dear friends. His mom is a lawyer, though, so he has a slight advantage there.
There is some truth to that statement. I've unfortunately been privy to how the process works. Again, when you're making the sausage, it's not pretty, and there's some lessons to be learned along the way. And by the way, congratulations to Mr. Schrago, who just got his JD. His JD. Yeah. So no, it's I once stayed at a Holiday Inn. So thanks, Brock.
Oh, well, and good luck to Mr. Schrago as he studies for the California version of the bar, which I've heard is one of the worst. So I don't know that for a fact because I'm not a lawyer and I don't ever want to be one. Last story comes to us from our friends over at Commercial Integrator. AV hardware suppliers are kind of trying to scale up to meet post-pandemic surge. What's happening is you've got a couple of things going on. First of all, we're hearing this from integrators, as well as a number of distributors. Folks are ramping up for the fall, for the third quarter. First quarter, second quarter is still going to be kind of rocky, but you're looking at a surge in the third quarter, both from renovations as well as new construction, higher education, house of worship, corporate, and government are all looking to spend money in the third and fourth quarter. Dealers are busy. Manufacturers are busy. Distributors are busy. But you've also got a number of factors going on, including the supply chain. The article from Commercial Integrator quotes Avocor head Corey talking about the fact that a number of their, not their shipment, but a number of shipments from some AV manufacturers are basically sitting in port on the boats waiting to come in. And that's just because that's a logistics issue, because not only were some of the ports shut down because of COVID, but now those workers are coming back. Well, it takes a minute to unload a boat, just for the record. And it takes a minute for the ships to get here from wherever they're coming. So there's going to be a slight lull in that. So some manufacturers are starting to ship stuff now from wherever in the world they come. Richie, when you're looking at the rest of the year, you look at what you and your compatriots and the folks you're talking to, are they looking at a surge come the third or fourth quarter? Is that a real thing, or is this kind of like a year ago where they said that the pandemic is only going to last 6 months, and by the end of 2020 we'll be back to work, we'll be fine?
I think a little bit more realism is set in. I believe that integrators are looking at multiple scenarios where before they just kind of viewed it as this is just a minor blip. We'll deal with this 6 months from now. We're going to be back to normal. Cue new normal, right? Right.
Okay, that's the second time you've made me drink today. Okay,
I'm telling you,
you said pivot and you said new normal.
I'm telling you, I'm going to pull them all out. Perfect example. Last week, maybe even as early as Monday, one of the largest employers in San Francisco, Salesforce, announced that they're going work from home for a majority of their workforce.
Permanently?
Permanently. 11,000 employees.
Okay, pause for a second, because I again, Richie and I are friends. Richie happened to do some work in that fantastic new building that Salesforce just built.
Yep.
So they're putting those people at work from home.
Their staff, a lot of Salesforce Tower is leasing out, is leased out to other companies. 3 of the major employers in the Bay Area just announced this week. Who is it? I want to say Pinterest or one of the other ones just announced that they broke their lease. It was an $86 million contract, and they said we're out. So this is, and again, we're talking in major metropolitan areas. So you're talking San Francisco, you're talking Austin, you're talking the Carolinas, you're talking New York, you're talking greater Boston. You're talking about all of these areas, and especially our industry in tech. So I'm going to set education and government to the side.
Yeah.
There, again, CARE's coming through. There's going to be a whole different, and that's the thing, is that it is such a shifting mound of sand right now, right? Some industries are going to be affected depending on what your focus is. Other ones are going to see huge jumps. And I think what's happening with these integrators and consultants also, because keep in mind, you've got consultants who are on the side who are going to be looking at their timelines out, product lines and everything else, and saying, okay, when do we expect people to come back to work, if at all? So, it's got me shaking my head and scratching my head, because I'm not sure. I think that coming up on a year, we are a little bit more in tune with you have to be flexible right now. But there's manufacturing issues, and again, ask anybody who's trying to get product. That's just, that's supply and demand. I mean, when you don't have people, you can't build things. And when you don't have people, you can't ship things. And when you don't have people, you can't put in things. So, Q3 would that be the earliest? I view that as the earliest. In terms of ramp up ability. And, again, Brock and Brandy probably have, their fingers on the pulse a little bit better than I do. But this is just from kind of what I'm seeing in our metro area, how the people who are buying these products are reacting in terms of how they're dealing with their workforce.
Yeah. And then just for clarity, because I have to think about this. So Q3 is July, kids, right? Q4 is October. Which is when Infocom has now been moved. NAB is in October. Brock, what are you hearing? Are you hearing a surge of activity come the last part of the year?
I'm hearing a hope for a surge of activity in the last part of the year. And I think we've all been pushing this out. The corporate world, those that are returning to offices, are not able to forecast closer than maybe 16 weeks. And 16 weeks from now, people aren't going back to work. And so we're going to touch base again around Memorial Day. And then, will people go back to work in the fall? And I think that's everybody's kind of natural hope, is that by the time that the school year, the traditional school year, I won't say normal, so you don't have to drink again.
Appreciate that.
Because I know that every time you do that, you have to start this program over. And like this day one Groundhog Day is tough for you, Tim. So I won't say normal, but the traditional school year start, the traditional business year, and up until then, the ramp up is slow, and we're all waiting patiently.
All right, Brandy, we'll wrap up with you. When you're talking with your integrator friends, your manufacturer friends, what are you hearing for the rest of the year?
I'm hearing a lot of stuff. I was on a tech managers forum panel not too long ago, and sort of the overreaching theme among a lot of these tech managers, and granted, these were all higher education universities and colleges and what have you, were that, they were kind of at a stop. And now it is full gas, and projects are ramping up, and things are now, full speed ahead, where they had been, put off until perhaps the fall for, another semester. But an overreaching theme that they were citing was that they were having a hell of a time finding certain products that they had been, using for classroom models, and finding alternatives or substitutes was even more difficult, and so this whole supply chain logistics conundrum is really affecting a lot of those folks and a lot of those projects. And I remember specifically one of the gals mentioned that they all of a sudden are, full speed ahead on a very big auditorium project that they were working on and couldn't find the right equipment to save their lives. And so they were using some sort of like B stock of something or other, and, just not apples to apples. You're getting a far worse experience, unfortunately, because of these alternatives that they're having to go, to go through to fulfill a project. And I think, Brock will probably, shake his head on this one. That just blows a lot of things out of the water.
Well, Brock is smiling because I'm thinking that ClearOne probably has stock.
In that, right? Yeah. It's a good one. Smarty pants. I love it. Yeah. So like I said, this panel that I was on, really the overreaching thing was just trying to get, substitutes and trying to ramp up projects very quickly to fulfill this new sort of hybridized, distance learning model that a lot of the universities and higher education facilities are working towards now.
All right, very good. That'll be a good place to stop. Thank you all so very much for joining us. Mr. Brock McGinnis from Avitas. Thank you, sir. How do people get a hold of you or Avitas?
I'm on Twitter at Brock McGinnis, and I'm Brock at Avitas. That's AVITAAS.com. Love to hear from you.
All right, very good. You will not be seeing Mr. McGinnis, at least in the States, for a minute, because his country doesn't want us and we don't want him. So, his country does. Yeah. His country doesn't want us and we don't. Yeah. He's Canadian. It was a bad joke. Brandy, how do people find you or BAM? And congratulations again.
Thank you so much. You can find me on Twitter at AVBrandy, or you can email me at brandy@bammarketingpr.com. Thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Mr. Fregosa, thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me on. See, when you ask what time Brock tells you, I tell you how to build a clock. So
exactly.
He says in 4 words.
This is accurate.
It gets the whole point across.
But I eventually find out the time. I mean, don't undersell yourself.
No, thanks for having me on. It's great to be here, and I mean, I learn, I think, more than anything else when I'm here. So thank you to Brandy and Brock for that. You can find me on Twitter at @Fregosa. You can find the company Fregosa Design. But first and foremost, I would love for you to find me here on AVNation.tv and our suite of shows here with you, with my good friend Matt Scott on AVWeek, and also with our show hosted by my good friend Steve Greenblatt, State of Control. Where we talk about the automation industry and the control systems programming side of things. And I'd love for you to find me here and supporting our sponsors.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. For us, for AVNation, go by our website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. You'll find this program and a host of others. Richie mentioned two other great ones. AVWeek looks at the residential side of the AV industry on a weekly basis. State of Control focuses on control and automation. A couple things that we're doing kind of special the next couple of months. The month of February, we are highlighting Black History Month and the Black experience in the AV industry. You can check that out under our special section. And yeah, to say that I've learned an awful lot in the last 3 weeks would be an understatement. Some fantastic conversations, some fantastic stories. I'm not going to say fantastic interviews because I'm the one doing them, but just the people on the other side are just great stories. And so we're also doing the same thing for International Women's Day in March. One of those is Brandy. But also a ton of really great women are coming alongside. The first one I got to do was Corey Schaefer, who just think the world of. And you can check those out also under our special section. Also check out our sponsors. These are the folks who help us financially. Kramer and Shure are 2 of those. You can check those out on the website as well. All that and more at avnation.tv. It's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.